On the news, federal government confirms purchase of 1.4 billion naira worth of vehicles for Niger Republic. Senate leadership meets with the service chiefs over worsening insecurity. And PDP Board of Trustees in closed-door meeting over Wike article crisis. It's good to have you join us on the news this evening. I am Abisola Adebayo. The federal government has confirmed that it has purchased vehicles worth 1.4 billion naira to help Niger Republic tackle its problem of insecurity. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, gave the confirmation on Wednesday, explaining that providing intervention to the neighboring Niger Republic is not new and it is the prerogative of President Muhammadu Buhari who approved the purchase. According to our President Buhari, whose actions she cannot question, has the right to make his own assessment of situations and give directives accordingly. She added that the financial support, which is primarily for the purpose of enhancing capacity to protect their territory based on a request by the Nigerian government, is also in the best interest of the country.
Over time, Nigeria has had to support its neighbors, especially immediate neighbors, to enhance their capacity to secure their countries as it relates to us. This is not the first time that Nigeria has supported Niger, Cameroon, or Chad, and the President makes an assessment as to what is required based on the request of their presidents, and such requests are approved and the interventions are provided. Is to enhance their capacity to protect their own territory as it relates to security also in Nigeria. Nigerians have a right to ask questions, but also the President has a responsibility to make an assessment of what is in the best interest of the country, and I cannot question that decision myself. I have said that this is not the first time that Nigeria as a country has provided intervention to our neighbors following an assessment that it is in the best interest of Nigeria to do so.
The leadership of the Nigerian Senate has held a closed-door meeting with heads of security agencies over the worsening trend of insecurity in Nigeria. In attendance were the Chief of Defense Staff, the Inspector General of Police, the Comptroller General of the Civil Defense Corps, Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, as well as the Director General of the Department of State Service. In his opening remarks before the closed-door meeting, the Senate President declared that Nigeria is at a crossroad and its very existence is under threat owing to the growing insecurity in the country. The Senate President also told the security chief that the level of insecurity in the country is really frightening.
Insecurity is everywhere, and especially if it is coming to the point of dislocating the security situation where the head of government, or where the government headquartered. So we really have to review and see what more we have to do and how differently we have to do.
On his part, the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Lucky Irabor, explained that issues of national security must be seen from a collective perspective. He added that a lot has happened and more was being done to improve the security situation in the country.
It's born out of the fact that issues of national security must be seen from a collective perspective. And that whatever the situation is There's always room for rubbing of minds to make contributions to the effect that we have a more secured environment where every Nigerian will have a sense or a feeling of security in truth, such that our individual and collective aspirations will be achieved. That quite a lot has happened, quite a lot has been done, quite a lot is being done to ensure that we improve on the security setting across the country. No one is leaving any stone unturned in redressing all the imbalances within the security environment.
To discuss these issues further, I'm now being joined on the news by former Director of the Department of State Services and Security expert, Dennis Amakre. Mr. Amakre, thank you so much for joining us on the news. Let me start by asking, what do you make of the federal government's action to deploy the whopping sum of 1.4 billion naira to help Niger Republic tackle insecurity?
Well, thank you for having me. It should be known that countries do cooperate with each other, especially when it comes to terrorism, because you cannot fight terrorism all by yourself, you know. And for that sum of money, I hope that it is properly used and to meet up their requirements, because Niger Republic, of course, has been a very good partner with us. Remember that in fact they've intercepted a lot of arms and ammunition that were coming to Nigeria and was intercepted in their country, which of course we all praise them. So the multinational task force, you know, is basically funded by Nigeria, you know. So I will not be surprised. I'm not really worried about the amount, but I want to see the effectiveness of where the money is going to be put to use.
Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed said the decision to release the fund is in the best interest of the country. What exactly does she mean by that? Can you help us understand that statement?
Yeah, you know, we are fighting terrorism, and when you look at it, we've been fighting it for over 10 years. And if we are going to collaborate with our neighbors, of course, you know that fighting terrorism cannot be fought all by a country. You need international help. And if our neighbors are going to assist in doing what they have to do for us, then I think it's in the best interest. Remember, countries don't just spend money, or especially on other countries, which is not of their own interest. So I believe strongly that, yes, it is to the interest of Nigeria.
Well, we really hope it is actually to the interest of Nigeria, like you said. Dennis Amakre, thank you so much for joining us on the news. Moving on, the Nigeria Railway Corporation, NRC, has announced the suspension of train service operations on the Lagos to Kaduna and Ajaokuta routes due to fear of terrorist attacks. The NRC Managing Director, Fidel Okiria, who confirmed the suspension, clarified that the corporation has not stopped train services on the Warri-Itakpe route, but rather they would not be stopping at the Ajaokuta station. Reacting to the development, the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Sambo, explained that the suspension is for the benefit of Nigerians due to the imminent security threat in the country.
I would like to state clearly that it is better to suspend a service where there is imminent threat and clear that threat first, or where an incident had occurred, to investigate that incident rather than jeopardize the life of a single Nigerian. Nigerians should rest assured that it is better to suspend a service than subject Nigerians to any threat to their lives.
Still on security, experts have urged the federal government and the National Assembly to put more effort in tackling the issue of insecurity, saying the government's misplaced priority is contributing to the worsening insecurity across the country. Retired Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu, in an interview with TV360 Nigeria, explained that the country's worsening insecurity is as a result of failure of the three arms of government. The security experts maintain that there is an issue of oversight on the part of the executive and legislators, which is also affecting the performance of the security agencies. He thereafter urged the government to make the issue of insecurity a priority so that Nigerians can live in peace.
This is my honest opinion, that there is no honest conversation between the commander-in-chief, the service chiefs, and also the National Assembly members that are playing their own game. You will wonder how at a time when the country is at war now for 10 years, you will bring a military budget that will pass through the executive and pass through the legislature, and then it will end up with about 80% of the budget going for overhead. A large chunk of the budget going for building universities. A large chunk of the budget building hotels and guest houses. Are we serious? Are we serious? How is it this budget passes? Even if you put a secondary school guy, he will tell you, for a country at war, you don't need to put emphasis on military universities. I'm not saying I'm a graduate of a university. I'm not saying a university is not important, but there is prioritization. At a time when we have a senator saying our troops don't have rifles, the same senator was part of a senate that passed a budget to go and build a university for billions of naira. Who is fooling who? So the failure we are having is multipurpose. The executive branch have a fault of not following up and proper oversight, of not punishing where failure is there. The legislative branch, they also have a failure of oversight. There are also, rumors, or I can say innuendos of some hanky-panky going on, got releasing finances, and then you'll come and wring your hand and say it's impossible.
Civil society organizations under the aegis of the Guardians of Democracy and Development Initiative has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to sack Babagana Mungono, the National Security Advisor, and Bashir Magashi for allegedly abdicating their duties. The group made the demand during a peaceful protest which began at the Unity Fountain in Abuja earlier in the week. The protesters, who trooped out in their numbers, carried placards and banners with different inscriptions to register their anger over the worsening security situation in the country. Convener of the group, Danesi Momo, who spoke on behalf of the protesters, threatened to join those calling for the resignation or impeachment of President Muhammadu Buhari if he fails to heed their call to sack Mungono and Magashi over the worsening insecurity in the country.
Immediate relieving of Major General Babagana Mungono and Major General Bashir S. Magashi, the Minister of Defense, of their duties, replacing them with credible and competent persons. We believe that in everything there should be an irreducible minimum standard, and these two retired generals have failed that minimum standard, so they have to go. And should Mr. President, for any political or emotional consideration, fail to heed to the patriotic call, we will be left with no choice other than join forces with those who are demanding his resignation or seeking his removal.
Intelligence are being collected and forwarded, and the NSA refusing for whatever reason to act on them. And we have seen the consequences of ignoring such. It's either the president accept direct responsibility, or these people that he has given this job to do, critical jobs that are not doing it, he can start by relieving these two critical offices, the NSA and the Minister of Defense. From there, Nigeria will know that he has started some proactive moves towards rescuing and returning the situation to normalcy.
Now to political matters. With less than a year to the 2023 general election, political parties and other stakeholders have been advised to pay keen attention to the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 for a more robust electoral system. Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmood Yakubu, made the call at the Electoral Institute's 4th Abubakar Momo Memorial Lecture and Training of Political Parties in Abuja. Our correspondent, Emeka Amako, was at the event and he compiled this report.
As part of efforts to record a hitch-free general election in 2023, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has called the attention of all stakeholders to changes on the Electoral Act 2022. According to the INEC chairman Mahmood Yakubu, these changes include the conduct of early party primaries by parties, technological changes in the electoral process, the Commission's power to review the decision of the returning officer, and overvoting based on the number of accredited voters. Represented by the Chairman, Board of Electoral Institute, Abdullahi Zuru, Yakubu urged the parties to consider the major features introduced by the Electoral Act 2022 and the possible implications of these changes on the upcoming elections.
The conduct of early party primaries by political parties, technological changes in the electoral process, the Commission's power to review the decision of the returning officer, and overvoting based on the number of accredited voters. These new initiatives, as contained in the law, served as the bedrock for the reviewed regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections 2022.
He further commented on the legality of technological devices in the accreditation process for voters, which ensures a smooth and deepening electoral process.
INEC voter enrollment device, INEC results viewing portal, etc., and other technological devices are now legally allowed in the accreditation process for voters, collation of results, and in the general conduct of elections. Please be assured that these innovations are intended to deepen the electoral process in our country, and their optimal performance in the just concluded gubernatorial elections in Ekiti and Osun states is an eloquent testimony to their electoral value. We shall only do more to consolidate their deployment in our elections.
On his part, the Director General of the Electoral Institute, Saad Idris, attributed the challenges facing the nation's political development to the recurrence of legal cases before and after elections.
The unfortunate preponderance of the many legal cases arising even from pre-election period up till today, after the conduct of elections, indeed have at many times brought a lot of challenges to the electoral process and our country's political development at large. It is hoped that with this lecture and the training for the political party executives, due influence can be brought to bear so that we can reduce the swift race to the courts that has characterized our political space in the last 10 years.
Idris added that the Electoral Act 2022 has brought on board solutions to many issues that in the past have fueled endless litigations in our courts.
The Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is currently meeting to find ways to resolve the feud between Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike and the presidential candidate of the party, Atiku Abubakar, over the selection of Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State as the vice presidential candidate of the party. The meeting, which is taking place at the National Secretariat of the party, is being presided over by its chairman, Senator Walid Jibrin. Jibrin had announced that the Board of Trustees would wade into the dispute to ensure that the main opposition goes into the coming elections as a united force. He said the meeting would produce recommendations on how to end the feud, while its members would thereafter meet with the Rivers governor and other former presidential aspirants under the party. We'll take a break now, but still to come, 27 Chinese warplanes enter Taiwan's air defense zone as retaliation for Pelosi's visit. Details of this story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. The federal government has confirmed that it has purchased vehicles worth 1.4 billion naira to help Niger Republic tackle its problem of insecurity. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, gave the confirmation on Wednesday, explaining that providing intervention to the neighboring Niger Republic is not new and it is the prerogative of President Muhammadu Buhari who approved the purchase. According to her, President Buhari, whose action she cannot question, has the right to make his own assessment of situations and give directives accordingly. We also told you that the leadership of the Nigerian Senate has held a closed-door meeting with heads of security agencies in the country over the worsening trend of insecurity. In its opening remarks before the closed-door meeting, the Senate President Ahmed Lawan declared that Nigeria is at a crossroad and its very existence is under threat, owing to the growing insecurity in the country. The Senate President also told security chiefs that the level of insecurity in the country is really frightening, urging them to find a solution really soon. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria, on Facebook or at TV360 Online. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says over 255,000 people have died from the coronavirus infection in the African continent since the outbreak of the viral disease. The Africa CDC gave the estimate in its latest update on Tuesday. It also disclosed that over 11.9 million cases have been recorded on the continent so far, with over 11 million recoveries despite the huge fatalities recorded. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization Regional Office for Africa says as of July 10, 2022, 282 million people on the continent had completed their primary series of COVID-19 vaccine doses, representing 21.1% of Africa's population. This figure, according to the World Health Body, represents a 10% increase since the beginning of 2022. We'll take another break now and return with more stories in business. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Mary Kanu is standing by with business updates. Mary, OPEC held a crucial meeting today. What exactly did they discuss in the meeting and what is the outcome?
Well, thank you, Abisola. Well, OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, at the end of its 31st OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting held on Wednesday, have agreed to raise global oil output, pushing Brent crude above $100 a barrel. The oil cartel added 100,000 barrels per day to the market in September, citing low investment in the global oil sector and unavailability of excess capacity, among others. The decision is coming despite President Joe Biden's trip to Saudi Arabia last month to persuade OPEC's leader to pump more to help rein in prices boosted by rebounding demand and Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. OPEC Plus said it considered the dynamic and rapidly evolving oil market fundamentals necessitating continuous assessment of market conditions. We'll take a break and return with a review of the stock market. To stay with us. Well, what a short-lived day of gains for the NGX. The gains witnessed in the previous trading session have been erased as the market relapsed into the red territory, dropping to 0.06%, although the market is still in the 50,000 level. Now, the losses were reflected in the activity chart, with today's data showing declines in volume and deals, and also value, a very important factor, went from 2.86 billion to 4.16 billion. Some money going into the market there. Now, in the aggregate, 105 equities participated in trading, ending with 22 gainers and 15 losers, with Learn Africa and UPL topping the losers chart with 49 kobo loss as investors look forward to better trading days. A look now at some select global stocks. It's a different story for the FTSE, the Dow Jones and the Nikkei, as the bull has taken charge. For these stocks, the earnings season continues, giving investors hope that the market can recover from previous losses. And that's why we can see that the FTSE is currently trading at 0.49%, the Dow Jones at 1.04%, and the Nikkei Asia stock trading at 0.53%. Well, that's the stock market report. Back to Abisola for the latest from the global scene.
Thank you very much, Mary, for that update. Moving on to the international scene, China sent 27 aircraft to Taiwan's air defense identification zone. The island's defense ministry said on Wednesday, hours after U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi left Taipei following a high-stakes visit that spiked tensions in the Taiwan Strait. As many as 6 J-11 fighter jets, 5 J-16 multi-role fighters, and 16 Su-30 multi-role fighters entered the air defense zone on Wednesday. Pelosi's trip to Taiwan came to an end on Wednesday as she departed from the South Road Island after a short and gripping trip that upped the ante in the Taiwan Strait. Meanwhile, China says Pelosi's Taiwan visit was a serious violation of the One China principle and the provisions of the joint communique signed between the two countries. Up next is Entertainment Report on News Now.
Nigerian entertainer Charles Oputa Charlie Boy has hinted at a possible split from his wife Diane. The area father made the announcement via his Twitter page on Tuesday, where he lamented his possible return to bachelorhood after over 45 years of marriage. When a fan suggested to the singer to try settling the rift amicably with Lady D, as she is fondly called, Charlie Boy replied that although there is no disagreement between himself and Diane, he was just tired of the marriage. The singer married Diane, an African-American singer, in 1979, and the couple formally renewed their marital vows in 2018. Charlie Boy married his first wife Stella at a Catholic church in Onitsha in 1974 at the age of 19. Kunle Afolayan's epic film Anikulapo is finally set to grace the screens. The filmmaker confirmed on Tuesday that the Netflix original will launch on the streamer from September 30, months after principal photography wrapped in Oyo State. Starring Kunle Remi in the lead role, the mystical folklore drama revolves around the life of Saro, a young zealous man seeking greener pastures in the great Oyo Kingdom. The movie also stars Shola Shobowale, Bimbo Ademoye, Hakim K. Kazim, Taiwo Ogogo Hazan, Aisha Lawal, amongst many others. And that's all we have on the entertainment segment of News Now.
And now to sports. Chioma Onyekwere has emerged the first Nigerian woman to win the Commonwealth Games gold medal in the discus throw event at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. The 28-year-old American-born Nigerian took the lead in a competitive women's discus competition in the fourth round, heaving a distance of 61.70 meters to overtake home favorite Jade Lally of England, who led from the first round with her opening throw of 57.33 meters. With the new victory, Onyekwere Ekwere has now become the second Nigerian after Adewale Olukoju, who threw 62.62 meters at Auckland in 1990 to win the discus throw title for Nigeria in the history of the Games. Meanwhile, at the end of day 5, Team Nigeria now has 8 medals, 3 gold, 1 silver and 4 bronze, but have dropped to the 10th spot on the medals tables. Well, that's the size of our news bulletin this evening. Thank you so much for staying with us. I am Abisola Adebayo.